It took more than a month of street protests in the streets of Georgian cities for the opposition to see support from Poland. The head of the Ministry of Diplomacy, Radosław Sikorski, signed a joint letter from the foreign ministers of the Weimar Triangle. In addition to Poland, there are Germany and France. They announced the end of visa-free travel for Georgian diplomats, among others. Meanwhile, Georgians are looking to Washington, D.C., and hoping that the Trump administration will weaken Putin's influence on their country. Our special correspondent Aleksander Wierzejski was on the scene. Once the new president was inaugurated, did the opposition consider themselves defeated?
W żadnym wypadku nie.
By no means. No, the protests continue, and the authorities have failed to appease them. Of course, the government has introduced Putin-era laws and managed to hold parliamentary elections in the spring, although, to put it mildly, they raised doubts about their fairness, and finally managed to seat their man as president, which seems to remove the last obstacle of former President Salome Zurabishvili to completely Putinize Georgia. However, one thing has been forgotten: the will of the people, who simply do not want such changes. And the public has been protesting and taking to the streets since late November. Also yesterday, on a holiday and family day, several hundred people showed up in front of the parliament with slogans that we know well from our history: freedom, democracy, Europe. But most importantly, we demand new elections. Salome Zurabishvili gave a hopeful welcome to the Polish presidency of the European Union. Congratulations to Poland on taking over the EU Council presidency. Wishing you success in this important role. From Georgia, we look forward to your continued support for the Georgian people and our shared commitment to European values and growth. The people who gather at the protests are very much counting on Western support to defend the common values that are being violated by the Georgian Dream authorities. It was only on New Year's Eve that Poland joined the list of countries that spoke out on the issue, but as part of the Weimar Triangle. Together with Germany and France, the heads of diplomacy of these countries condemned the violence against protesters in Georgia and the departure of the authorities from European integration against the will of the people. They also announced sanctions. The political direction of repression and moving away from democracy taken by the Georgian Dream Party has led to a deterioration of our relations at the European and national levels and a reduction in our support for and cooperation with the Georgian authorities. We will therefore implement the EU's decision to abolish visa-free travel for Georgian diplomatic and service passport holders and consider additional measures at the EU and national levels. However, in Germany, elections are 6 weeks away, and the position of the French government is shaky, so the value of such a statement is also rather symbolic. The situation is different in the United States. There, a new Congress will be sworn in tomorrow. Congressman Joe Wilson of South Carolina wants the Georgia issue to be among the priorities of the new administration and parliament. In a letter to Mark Rubio, the future head of diplomacy, and Mike Waltz, the president's nominee for security advisor, Wilson calls for further sanctions against Bidzina Ivanishvili and his team. The letter reads, "These measures strike at the heart of the de facto Georgian government's misleading narrative that its alignment with pro-Chinese, Iranian, and Russian interests would find acceptance under President-elect Trump's leadership or under any U.S. administration." In the context of the Trump administration's actions, the fact that Salome Zurabishvili is going to Washington, D.C. for the inauguration of the new 47th President of the United States takes on significance. Aside from politics, during New Year's Eve, greetings from Tbilisi float to us, to the viewers and the team of Republica Television. I would like to wish the viewers of TV Republica from the heart of Georgia, from Tbilisi, first of all, peace. Peace in our families, our homes, our hearts, but also the peace that we need most now. That is, an end to this war. Let there be peace.
Dla Telewizja Republika.
For Television Republica, Happy New Year.
Gruzja, Tbilisi, Aleksander Wierzejski, Republika.